And just like that, the young Abdullah Mason embarrasses Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson. In this video, I'm going to break down what I seen, tremendous stuff from a very young fighter named Abdullah Mason. And I'm going to explain how he embarrassed Shakur as well as Keyshawn. Two birds with one stone. And I don't know if this was his intent, but it certainly had that effect to me. Don't worry, buckle up. I'll keep you guys locked in to my thought process. Over the weekend, you had a fight where Baranchyk put up his title against young Keyshawn Davis. The fight to me was dreadful. The first two rounds, very sloppy, very rough. It just wasn't a great fight. Keyshawn being the bigger and more talented fighter in rounds 3, and I think it ended in round 4, he just put together some shots and got the stoppage. I don't know what the game plan is from Baranchyk, but it just was not a scintillating fight to watch. Congratulations, Keyshawn Davis becomes champion, So not mad at it in terms of Keyshawn can only fight what's in front of him, and maybe it was because of Baranchyk style was so ugly, it just made for just not a fight you would want to go back and watch again. We'll put it that way. Also on the card, now a fight you would want to watch is Abdullah Mason. The thing I like about Abdullah Mason, from what I've seen, is that Mason fought a guy that Rolly just fought. Rolly is a former champion, Rolando Rolly Romero, and he's slated, I guess is a better word, to fight Ryan Garcia. So it was a good barometer test for Abdullah Mason. The guy's name was James, and he trains out of Robert Garcia's gym or whatever, right? He was tough in the Rolly fight. I watched it. It was recently, right, that we seen this. I think it was on Tim Zoo's undercard, if I'm not mistaken. Rolly went the distance, Rolly being a power puncher. And he got in there with Abdullah Mason, and literally it looked like two different worlds. It looked absolutely insane. It looked like a mismatch, to be honest. And this is no shade to the dude. The dude definitely was trying. He was trying to get something going, but he just didn't have it to beat Abdullah Mason. So I've watched, I'm a boxing content creator. I've watched all these guys' careers, pause. Abdullah Mason had some struggle in his last fight. So to come back and get this righteous performance versus the James dude, it's what you want to see. And I made this meme for you guys on my social media. Want to see a dead body? Because that's what it looked like. And I put the kids from John Singleton, rest in peace, Boys in the Hood, because that's exactly how Abdullah Mason left him, right? Now, I know some people are growing impatient. They're like, yo, Ego, get to the point. What's this got to do with Keyshawn? And what's this got to do with Shakur Stevenson? Very glad you asked. Now, on top of it, Abdullah on the same card as Keyshawn. They're in the same weight class. One was a title fight, so I got to kind of see how they both looked versus given the competition. Abdullah Mason is 1 younger. 2, at least his dude was resilient and trying to get something going. And he was trying to put it together, but every single time he tried to war back and fight back, Abdullah Mason had an answer. And for a keen boxing viewer such as myself, it's usually apparent where a guy is very good fighter or a decent fighter, and they're giving it a go, and it's just they're being outclassed. Versus when you see something that looks like Keyshawn versus Baranchyk, it looked like they're in 2 different weight classes, and it looked like almost like Baranchyk was drunk or almost as if he had never fought. So for me, given the fact that they're both in their 20s and they're in the same weight class, I definitely had more fun with Abdullah Mason's because he had a live body in front of him. Now, some people, they're going to resent what I just said. Like, oh, yeah, but he wasn't a champion. I'm going to keep saying this. 2025 and beyond, belts do not matter. You just seen it. You seen Denise Baranchyk became a champion against a non-lightweight, and then he got cooked easily. And to me, it wasn't necessarily just because Keyshawn's invincible per se, but it's that he's no match. He was shorter. Didn't look like he had pop on his shots. Again, Abdullah Mason's dude, at least he showed up trying to make a fight, trying to get something going. And that was immediately apparent. But let me talk about the two birds with one stone. Abdullah Mason did a brand new interview with Fight Hype, and the question, I'm going to paraphrase, was something very similar. It seems that Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis are brothers, fake brothers, and they have a silent agreement or a handshake deal that they wouldn't face off against each other. I am happy to report Abdullah Mason said, again, this is me paraphrasing, check out the interview. The only people on this planet that I wouldn't fight if it made sense are my blood brothers. That makes me want to shed a tear. To be a 20-year-old young man, you show a lot of talent, a lot of promise, southpaw. They're even like doing Gervonta comparisons on ESPN. And to remark so beautifully, this is boxing, people. I do not like the fact that Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn have almost teamed up as fake brothers. They're not blood brothers, right? This is not Jermell and Jamal, the Charlo brothers. This is not Vladimir and Vitaly, the Klitschko brothers, right? This is not Fernando Vargas's sons, the Vargas dynasty. All of those blood brothers, the Abdullah Mason brother, or even you have Keyshawn. He has literal brothers, DB3 or whatever. If people were trying to have you fight, because keep in mind, Jermell and Jamal Charlo both fought at 154, and they said basically the same thing. They wouldn't fight each other. When it's your blood brother, I can understand it. But I'm pretty sure that Shakur and Keyshawn aren't blood brothers, right? And it's like, it almost reminds me of, I remember growing up, they said that Marcus Houston and Omarion were brothers, but they're really not even brothers. You see what I'm saying? And that's what people thought they were related, but they really weren't. B2K, Omarion, and Immature's Marcus Houston. That's Keyshawn and Shakur. You know, when Shakur was 5 years old, he probably didn't know who Keyshawn was, right? But if it's your real brother, when you're 5 years old, 6 years old, and like things that went on in the household, like, oh, remember that time you broke your leg, or you remember we had a sleepover and you threw up, you know, you're going to have those memories. I'm pretty sure Shakur and Keyshawn, they might be close, and I'm not trying to break up, you know, a friendship or anything, but I think it's weak to be in the same division. You both are occupying belts, and then you're telling each other that, hey, let's not fight each other. So then people put this fake pressure on Tank Davis, and he got to fight everybody, but two other champions, and they're not like biological brothers, they get to just say, hey, we're not fighting each other because we're besties. We're good friends. You know, I can't respect it. Zab Judah fought Floyd Mayweather. He knew him since the amateurs. They were friends. They were Olympians together. And I'm just happy that Abdullah Mason hasn't been brainwashed into this level of thinking. So shout out to Mason. This makes me want to continue watching his journey because it's real. You know, he says, as far as Keyshawn and Shakur, you know, the only people I'm not fighting are my blood brothers. Respect. Because I wouldn't expect any fighter to fight their actual brother. I wouldn't expect Keyshawn to fight his brother, right? Even if they're in the same weight class, right? But that's not the case with Shakur, and we know that. And now I feel like one of you guys should just move out the division because you're hogging up a belt, and it's kind of unfair. So you have Macho Man and Hulk Hogan trying to do a tag team, and they're tag teaming, hoping to get Tank, or hoping to get Lomachenko. So they're just targeting everyone else, but they're acting like a package deal. It's very concerning. And it's this younger generation that wants to be friends. Take me back to boxing where Broner said, I'll fight Danny Garcia. Me and him are real cool, but I'll fight him. Broner even said he's cool with Floyd, and if the check is right, he would fight with Floyd or do an exhibition with Floyd. You know what I mean? But we'll see. First, Shakur got to get past Schofield, but I'm just so happy that Abdullah Mason is not on that bandwagon of not willing to test himself, because it almost becomes a cop-out. What if, like any competitive sport, it doesn't have to be boxing, what if Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter said, we're real cool, I'm not competing against him? What if Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson said, yo, and they were really friends, but what if AI said, I don't want to test myself? Guess what? The competitiveness of both of those people, Kobe's trying to cook AI, and AI is trying to lace Kobe's shoes and cross them over, etc. It's just competition. I'm not asking for a gang war or trash talk, even just pure competition. And you really have no excuse unless you're biological brothers, or at the very least, you shouldn't be a champion. If you're not willing to fight the relevant parties in your division, to me, you really shouldn't be a champion, because, again, you have a built-in excuse. I could just say, hey, I'm a heavyweight. I don't want to fight Wilder. He's my bestie. Tyson Fury is my bestie. Usyk, me and him are real cool. Zhele Zhang is cool. Anthony Joshua is my mate, right? Then you don't have to fight nobody. And I said this on my live stream, and I think more and more people are understanding it. So, again, boxing shouldn't work like this, and I'm glad that some people got the memo, like Abdullah Mason. And again, for me as a fan, it just makes it more exciting. And the last thing about the clout chasing with Tank Davis, right? Let's see if Shakur calls out Abdullah Mason. Let's see if Keyshawn, who's on the same exact side, calls out Abdullah Mason. You're a champ. Well, now he's a champion, but maybe as a champion you don't call out the person. But if Abdullah Mason starts calling out Keyshawn, instead of focusing on a harder fight to make for obvious reasons, Tank is the A side, how about Keyshawn and Abdullah Mason? You guys are with the same people on the same promotional wave. Let's get boxing back to the conversations that really need to happen, because what I'm seeing is you have people picking and choosing and playing favorites and this type of stuff, but they're not talking about nothing real. They won't put pressure for Keyshawn to fight a great fight against Abdullah Mason. I would pay Top Rank or ESPN or whatever network they land on to see that fight. But without the fans getting behind me and saying, hey, I want that too, which would maybe encourage the promoter to make it, we don't get that. So we're just going to keep seeing Abdullah. Like, for me, Abdullah Mason is too raw. He's too good, where he has to step up in competition. All his fights are going to keep looking like how they've been looking like, minus that one where he got dropped, which was kind of his only competitive fight recently, right? You need to keep developing him. But when that time comes, let's see if Keyshawn is willing to fight him.